8 years ago when we started the company, I said, let's go virtual. And mainly because I ran a lot of business where I had huge overhead and that stress every month. And the one thing I've learned is, yes, you can have great offices and show off and things like that, but it's going to come off the bottom line. So when COVID hit and everyone had to go virtual, we already set up and primed to do so. So then we just focused on support and systems more than anyone else and to optimize the whole thing. In this marketplace, when most people are shutting down and slowing down because they have huge overhead, they have where's that negativity going to come out of? It's going to come of worse pricing, right? So for me, I'm as lean as mean as possible, so I can still give my clients a very good rate, pay my loan officer a very good income, and still capture a good amount of the market.
All right, guys, welcome to another episode of The Report. Today, I got a special guest who's crushing it in the lending game. He's funded $7 billion worth of loans. He's in my exotic car club, Fastlane Drive. I got my man, Chris Groves. Chris, welcome to the show, brother.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Yeah, man. I appreciate you coming on. We connected through Fastlane Drive, your local here in San Diego, which is Exotic Car Club. They got multiple chapters in different parts of the world now. And I had Clem on the podcast about 2 months ago. And I joined. I was like so inspired by that conversation that I was like, as soon as we got done recording, I'm like, dude, I want to join. So I got in, we connected. But you and your wife, Aleyna, you guys run your company together. You guys just got back from Mykonos and you did some traveling through Greece. Tell me about that.
Yeah, no, we just got back we started off in Turkey. We went to Cappadocia, if I'm pronouncing that correctly.
Yeah, Cappadocia.
Went to a crazy music festival up there.
What's the name of that one? I saw it online.
Arganth, like I can't even pronounce it at this point, but it was unreal experience.
Is that the one where there's like hot air balloons too?
We did the hot air balloon photo shoot. It's on my IG right now. Yeah. We did a photo shoot like 4 a.m. We partied all night long. You know, met a photographer 4 a.m. right to photograph. So it was just next level. But we started there. Then we went to Istanbul. So we went party. Then we did history. So we saw the mosques and did the grand bazaars and all that good stuff. And then we went over to Mykonos. Another party vibe for 4 or 5 days. And then we ended up in Athens for more history. So it was a nice flow. But it was our 10-year anniversary trip this year. So
dude, congratulations.
Thank you.
So you and Aleyna. It's funny. I've been to Turkey twice now. And the first time I was in Cappadocia, it was actually the first city I've ever visited in Turkey.
Amazing.
It was 2 years ago, and it was in August 2 years ago. And I remember that music festival being in town. I didn't attend, but
you have to get.
I have to go back and attend this festival. EDM in the middle of Cappadocia, which is like basically like middle of Turkey, but very cool. Like the cool vibe. It's like caves everywhere.
It's unreal. Just all the hotels are in the caves and just the vibe of the city and the food and the people. It was really an epic experience. So
did you guys stay in a cave?
We did. We stayed at the main hotel there, and like you kind of get into these rooms, and they didn't have any air conditioning though. So we get in, and there's like a straight drop down where the bathroom is, and shower and stuff like that. So you're trying not to kill yourself every night after coming home at like 3-4 a.m. every day. But it was truly epic. I definitely want to go back. I didn't think I would say that when I was going there, but I definitely go back for sure.
What was the highlight of your trip?
I mean, that was definitely one of the biggest highlights. We ended up on Elon Musk's yacht in Mykonos.
No way.
And we ended up with one of the top DJs, number one DJ in Colombia. He was with us. We went up with this other group, and it was just positive vibes with like 20 people. We just kind of randomly met and combined, and on Elon Musk's boat, and all the paparazzi were following us around. We were cracking up. It was just a really cool, experience overall. Just
what's positive. Elon's boat yet? Like
it's the Zeus. It's all gold. It wasn't like crazy huge. It was just really nice and clean. But the service in Mykonos, I will say, like me and my friends were laughing because everyone would just say whatever you want. Like you'd ask for something, whatever you want, right? So I have a whole motivational speaking rod I do called the 110 movement. So my buddy Andrew looked at me. He's like, Chris, I finally understand what 110% means. It's going above and beyond, right? It's whatever you want. So that was the vibe of the trip. It was epic. Dude,
I love that, man. I was in Mykonos last summer and so much fun out there. Just the energy, the different beaches, the parties, and I don't think there's anywhere in the world that kind of like compares with that same type of like vibe and energy. And then it's exotic.
Yeah. Well, the crazy thing is, like you say, Vegas never sleeps, but Mykonos is like everything's open. You want to buy a Louis Vuitton at 4 a.m. Like all the restaurants, all the stores. I mean, it's genius. They're open. It never stops. So it is unreal to see, but it only sucks the driving around that city. because it's so narrow. So that's always a experience for sure.
Yeah. And I will say the hangover in Mykonos is a lot better than Vegas because you don't have the 110-degree desert heat.
That's
You're right in the water.
Yeah, it was pretty warm when we were there the last couple of days. We finally got that Mykonos wind and that good vibe, but overall we had a good weather. Then you come back to San Diego when it's cloudy again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right. So speaking of yachts and being on the water, this Saturday will be my first Fast Lane Drive event. We're going to do a drive for a couple hours on Saturday, followed by a yacht party on one of the members' yachts. Whose yacht is that?
I don't even know. You ready for the hazing to begin, or? No, I'm not sure they read it out. I heard it's epic. It's like a 150-footer, and I think they got another one, and there was talks of a third one to keep up with the demand of everyone that was coming in, because we got members from all over the country coming into this one. 3 yachts, and then they'll obviously go out, and then they'll tether them together out there. So it should be pretty epic.
Should I bring a +1 with me, or should I go solo?
Yeah, I'd probably, if you have someone you're seeing, I'd bring a +1.
Okay.
Because I don't think sometimes there's single people, but it's a lot of members and things like that. So it
Yeah.
just depends how serious you are.
Yeah. What are these events typically like?
So we start off in the morning early, for the drive. They always say show up at 8, and we start off at 9:30 anyways. So I'm the guy that always shows up at 8 anyways. And my wife yells at me like, let's go, let's be on time. But then they have a route planned. We'll drive for a little bit. We'll stop. We'll hang out, take photos, and then drive, stop, hang out, take photos. And then, depending on the route we go on. This one, they'll be a little bit shorter because usually we end around like 3 or 4, but the yacht thing is going to go on a 1. So it'll be a good drive to kind of get you in. But it's not about like racing, like you get some speed, you have fun, but driving supercars, you get a little more, you're more comfortable driving in a group, right? Like you're not, sometimes when you're in your supercar alone, people act a little weird. When you're in a group, it's just a little more protection, but it's not about racing the other members. It's about having fun and keeping it safe, of course, as well. And, and it's just all good vibes and good energy.
What kind of car do you drive?
I've got a couple. I have a McLaren GT 23. I've got a GT Continental Bentley. Picked up Lambo Urus 2 weeks ago as well. A couple. Yeah,
love that. How's the Urus, by the way? I feel like I'm seeing a lot of those all over Lit Italy these days.
Well, I talked crap about it at first. I said, who would ever buy a Lambo SUV, right? I'm like, if I'm going to buy a Lambo, I'm going to buy a car. I bought it for my wife. It was her birthday present. So it's got her name on it.
That's a hell of a birthday gift.
I actually dropped that on the last Fastlane event. I surprised her in front of the whole group and up in Beverly Hills with the car.
Oh, I love that.
So it's on video. It's pretty sick. But it's her mommy car. We have 2 children. We have a 9-year-old and a 5-year-old. So she's loving it. So I like to drive it on the weekends.
I'm good friends with Preston in Fastlane, and he speaks very highly of you and Aleyna. He's like, dude, these guys are always dressed to a T, and they always show out. And you're showing it now, man. For the listeners out there, Chris is all swagged up, dude. Got the set, got the jewelry, you got the shoes. I'm impressed, man.
I stay on it. Well, I come from very humble beginnings, brother. Like for me, like I moved out to San Diego 15 years ago, $300, no job, no car, and just made it work. It's been hard work, and I think I've never taken a loan from anyone. Me and my wife built this company by ourselves. We never took on any partners. My belief is hard work will prevail, and I've never stopped. I mean, honestly, the first time I've ever taken 2 weeks off in my last 15 years was my anniversary trip, that I just took. Asked my wife. I'd never take time off. I never totally clock out, but I said, it's our 10-year anniversary. I'm going to spend time with you. This is for us and our relationship. And she said I did a pretty good job. So first time. Yeah.
So what were you doing before real estate? And how did the whole lending thing come to fruition?
So I was doing personal training. Probably my first big business I ran. So I worked with Padre players, Charger players, doctors, lawyers, all high level individuals. For me, I've always been a sponge of people. So training, is all about dedication. It's about, getting people to a goal, motivating them, and then being around people of that caliber that can afford my services. You get a lot more opportunities to come your way. So I was running probably an average 16 sessions a day. I was doing about $350,000 to $400,000 a year as a private personal trainer. I had my own gym at one point, and then I just kind of, long story, that one had a bad partnership, but I just ended up doing a private business for a good amount of time. And then my wife talked me into getting into real estate, of course, like everyone else in California was getting into real estate. So I started off as an appraiser, became an agent, then became a broker, then worked at Keller Williams with the team lead, Jeremiah Taylor and Chris Heller, and started working on recruiting and building teams and things like that. My wife was actually more on the loan side when I met her. So her dad ran his own personal business as a mortgage broker and a real estate broker. And he was very successful. And my wife started working with him at a very young age at 15. So her dream became my reality. I always laugh about it because it wasn't my I never thought I'd be running a big mortgage company across the US. But I started off on the real estate side and she was on the mortgage side, and we started doing deals together. And it was just a really good flow. Like there's very few people that keep up with my speed and energy. And my wife is just an amazing, articulate savant when it comes to numbers. And we just vibed very well in business. And then, at first when I was running at Keller Williams, she was at Movement Mortgage at the time as the in-house lender. So we were working together within, at a certain level, all of our deals. But we just kind of got pigeonholed to what we could do, right? So a lot of lenders only have a certain amount of products, pricing's not there, or there are just issues along the way. So we kind of sought it out, a better opportunity, and we really couldn't find it. So we built it. And that's kind of how Groves Capital started. It's like, hey, listen, I'm going to stop you from complaining. I'm going to build you a company exactly the way you want it. And she had a vision for it. And then at a certain point, 2 years in, we were doing well. We were doing 7 figures, just the two of us. And I said, let's build this. And she kind of laughed at me. She's like, who's going to come? I'm like, we built this for you. You're an amazing originator. We crush it. Other people are going to join. And she kind of laughed at me. Within 5 months, we were up to, I think, 55 people. Within 2 years from that, about 550 from that point. So.
What was your bread and butter early on with the lending? Was it residential strictly?
So mine was like, I was doing real estate. So primarily in my training business, my wife was doing the mortgage side. So that's kind of how we funded our own business. And then as I transitioned out of, training, I focused more on real estate. And then now mostly I focus on lending at this point. But I still have a big real estate team. We've got about 40 different agents, 700 loan officers across the country as well. So a lot of different divisions in addition.
Wow. Which brokers do you guys work with on the agent side?
As far as?
Your agents are hanging their hat under a brokerage, right?
So I have my own brokerage.
Oh, you have your own brokerage.
So broker
gotcha.
Groves.
And that's Groves. Okay.
And then Groves Capital. So,
gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. And today, are you still involved with both businesses, or are you strictly just on the lending and someone else runs the brokerage side?
No, I still run and operate both sides.
Yeah.
Yeah. For me, I mean, if I can double, triple end, my deals and teach other people to do it, I believe some brokers don't like that because they're like, oh, it's a conflict. For me, it's not a conflict. If I got that ball, I'm going to get to the hoop if I'm in control of the whole transaction, and my clients are going to have a good experience. So for me, that's why I like to run the whole thing, because I know it's going to get done correctly. The one thing about real estate and mortgage is there's always going to be issues that arise, mainly because there's so many people in the transaction. If one person drops the ball, the quarterback's always going to get, yelled at, or the praise when things go right.
Totally. I haven't heard the term triple N. I hear double N the deal all the time, what agents use, but triple N, that's everything. That's buy, sell side, and the loan.
Yep, exactly.
Dude, I love that.
Exactly.
What's the biggest challenge that you face growing the lending business?
The biggest challenge is just keeping people on the same page. We were kind of the first company to pioneer a virtual platform. 8 years ago when we started the company, I said, let's go virtual. And mainly because I ran a lot of business where I had huge overhead and that stress every month. And the one thing I've learned is, yes, you can have great offices and show off and things like that, but it's going to come off the bottom line. So when COVID hit and everyone had to go virtual, we already set up and primed to do so. So then we just focused on support and systems more than anyone else and to optimize the whole thing. In this marketplace, when most people are shutting down and slowing down because they have huge overhead, they have where's that negativity going to come out of? It's going to come of worse pricing, right? So for me, I'm as lean as possible, so I can still give my clients a very good rate, pay my loan officer a very good income, and still capture a good amount of the market.
Yeah. I feel like it's always a fine line when you're scaling, but then also, there's volatility in the marketplace right now. So it's like a fine line in terms of how you're going to run your expenses. Are you playing the long game and you're looking to, scale and hire out, and maybe you're going to take a loss in the short term for the long-term gain, or you're going to scale back and just try to run as lean as possible to just kind of maximize cash flow. I feel like it's always a balancing act that I'm personally trying to kind of figure out.
Yeah, it's definitely tough. I mean, most of my competitors right now are laying off and shutting down. I'm very prideful that I didn't have to lay off any people this last 2 years.
I love that.
We pivoted. We went hard into commercial business loans, SBA loans, and equipment loans. I didn't cut any of my staff. I'm actually still growing in this environment. We just had an article come out in Yahoo calling us the fastest growing 5-star entity in this marketplace, which is a pride, right? If you can make it in this market, you can make it in any market. We've never been a refi only platform, which most lenders are like, oh, when the refis are there, let's crush it. And then they kind of back off and then they come back around. For me, purchase business is what my focus has always been on. Refis are there. That's easy street. Anyone can sell someone to save money. That's not a hard sell, right? Selling people now in this marketplace with the higher interest rates and getting them to understand the advantages of purchasing, regardless of where the market's at, it's always going to be advantageous in any market to buy property, but you got to get it out of their heads, the crap they hear on TV, right?
Yeah.
All the misinformation.
Absolutely. So, I play in the commercial space, and, you made the pivot over to commercial. What's it like? Because there's definitely a learning curve. So with your team, they're doing all residential stuff, and then you guys pivoted to commercial. Was there much of a learning curve there or a transitional period? If you are a busy professional and don't have time to invest in real estate, but still want to participate in the passive income and tax benefits, my team, Summers Capital, is buying a lot of boutique hotels right now. We source the deals, we renovate the properties, and we even do all the day-to-day management, making it truly hands-off for our investors. If you want to learn more to see if we can help you, go to summerscapital.com/invest to book a call with our team. Again, that's summerscapital.com/invest. Now back to the show. Hey guys, real quick, the only way this podcast grows is if you guys share it and review the show. So if you do find value, if you could take 2 seconds and drop a 5-star on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, it would mean the world to me. But more importantly, it will help us reach new audiences and help more people build wealth through real estate investing.
Yes. I mean, even for me, it's a different beast, right? Like, you're selling differently. The way the transaction's handled it's slower, I guess is the best way to put it. When residential, you can put things in a pricing engine, you see pricing, it's real time. When it comes to commercial, what are you doing? You're going to select lenders, you're waiting for them to get back to you. It's not everything's direct. You're getting an LOI, then you're putting that deal together and get it closed. So it's a longer process. So I think that's the biggest irritation I see from my loan officers transitioning over. They want it like this, which I like it as fast as possible. But that's what I've been trying to focus on right now, is how to optimize commercial lending and bring it up to the speed of residential. And that's why we're getting articles, about our company saying that we're changing the name of the way commercial should be done for the better. And that's the main focus. So we're bringing more investors, which means our clients have more opportunities to get the best deal possible, and it can really compete, because a lot of lenders, a lot of commercial people keep their contacts super close in their little black book, right? It's archaic, it's slow. I want to change that. And I want to streamline the process, bring more opportunity, and crush it.
Yeah, I feel like there's a big delta between all the lenders that I talk to, the ones that are, they're in it, but they're not really gamers. And I got my small group that they're just gamers, and they're gonna push deals through.
Yeah.
And I know that I can trust them. I know that they're gonna get things done, and they keep these deals moving forward. And so I think there's a big delta there. I think a lot of it comes down to, workflow, education, knowledge, but also the desire to want to go after it and get it. And I think some people, they either have it, some people just don't.
Yeah, you gotta be persistent in this game. So even for me as an owner of the company, I have to call people, hey, what's going on with that LOI? We're gonna push hard. And it's micromanaging it feels like a full-time job. If I didn't have to do that, how much more time efficiencies I'd have in life. But yeah, there's, like you said it exactly. There's some people in that really want to crush the business, and they're going to go above and beyond. And then there's a lot of lazy lenders like, oh, if it doesn't fit this box, it's out. The people I call are the ones like, no, let's figure out a solution. What's pivot, what's change around, what's called CPAs, let's figure out how to make this deal work.
Yeah.
And those are the people I want to work with. If I have an AE or a lender that's willing to do that, they're going to get my business. That's always been my thing. Whoever wants it the most, that's the guy I'm sending my business, or the gal I'm sending my business to.
Yeah. I feel like there's definitely been, I would say over the last 18 months in the high interest rate environment that we're in, I've definitely noticed lending dry up, especially the more creative financing stuff, second position loans, hard money has gotten more expensive. But, it's a lot more challenging to find capital out there. A lot of lenders are pulling back. They're getting more conservative. But at the same token, I'm seeing a lot of new lenders enter the marketplace and try to fill these gaps that are out there. For example, I was chatting with someone a couple weeks back, but he's starting a boutique hotel debt fund for stabilized hotels, 10 million and under, because he identified a gap in the marketplace.
Yeah, because most lenders will only touch those of the SBA loans. Not typical lenders won't touch special boutiques. Because I'm looking in boutique hotels right now and pivoting from Airbnbs as well.
Yeah.
I saw your podcast about that. I was like, all right, smart.
I love that. So, right now it's it's a lot more challenging to get 10 million and under stabilized loans for hotels. And so because of that, a lot of the private money, hard money, bridge lenders for the boutique hotels 10 million and under are seeing that, and now they're pulling back. And so this guy started a private debt fund. They're going after solely the stabilized hotels 10 million and under, which I thought was smart. And so I'm starting to see a bunch of these different lenders attack these gaps in the marketplace. What are you seeing on your end?
Yeah, and there's a lot of niche lenders that we have. We work with close to 215 different investors that I have approvals with at this point. So I always say if we can't do it, no one can. I mean, stated income's back, asset depletion programs, foreign national programs. I mean, I have all the creative solutions. So for me, I find those and I seek them out. Like this week, I was talking to an individual who has all his money in turkeys, doing a property in Miami. Nothing's been built before. No one's going to touch his loan, right? He was with First Republic, which I was as well, but that was a relationship-based bank, and everyone turned him down. I talked to him yesterday. I'm getting an LOI to him probably this afternoon, right? No one has been able to do it, but the right contact, the right opportunity will make it happen.
Yeah.
Lending really, especially in that space, it should be more about the client and focusing on their overall picture than debt to income ratios and the normal parameters of lending. For me, it's like that's what First Republic was good about. They're like, hey, I'm going to look at this client and look at what the money they have in the bank, look at the properties. It makes sense, But a lot of these lenders are like, oh, the ETI doesn't match up, or they don't have 6 months or a year of reserves. We're not going to touch it. The bottom line is, are they going to pay off the debt? Are they going to pay their monthly? For me as a lender, that's all I care about. Like I'm going to make my interest and they're going to make their payments. That's it. And you don't always see that on the numbers directly.
Yeah. So there's been a lot of volatility in the interest rate environment over the last 18 months. And, we're all speculating here, but, I'm hearing different things thrown out there in terms of where the rate environment's going to go. You got some people that feel like rates are going to be stabilized at 6-7% over the next, 24 months. You got folks like Grant Cardone. He came on the podcast and he's saying we're going to see 3% rates in the next 18 months. And I would say the majority of the folks are kind of in the middle somewhere. What's your sentiment on the interest rate environment as we move forward?
Well, first off, being in 6s and 7s isn't a high interest rate, right? If you talk to anyone that bought houses in the 80s and 90s, they'll laugh at you, right? Like I was buying at 12 to 16%. We just got spoiled. We got spoiled through COVID because they wanted to facilitate the economy and keep money moving. So we saw 3s and we're like, oh, this is reality. It wasn't reality, right? And we gave out too much free money. So, and now obviously that had its ramifications, and that's why we're at where we're at. So 5 and 6s are a healthy market, actually, right? But a lot of people just can't let go of those 3s. I think now people are finally kind of getting used to it. Finally, when the first 6 months, everyone's like, oh my God, what are we going to do? And I'm like, money's money. You still got to make it work for you. And at the end of the day, does it pencil out? I don't think we're gonna get back down to 3s. I mean, we'd love it. I think it'd be freaking amazing, but I don't believe we're gonna be back into 3s. I think, best we're gonna be low 5s, maybe high 4s. I think it's gonna take place around the presidential election because it always shifts then, because why? We want votes. We're gonna make things happen and make things change. So I think it's gonna be pretty stable until the election cycle takes place. And then we're gonna start seeing some movement inside of that.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see how this election shakes out. I mean, I personally believe, and I'm speculating, we're going to see Trump on the Republican Party go up against Governor Newsom. I think Newsom's going to make a run at this thing, and it's going to be very interesting to see how this shakes out.
Has he said he's running now?
There's a lot of talk out there, and leading indicators that say, hey, he's gonna run. So we'll see. But I agree with you. I think that's when we're going to start to see some sort of pullback in the interest rate environment. And who knows? I mean, who knows where inflation will be by then? But man, if you would have told me 18 months ago, like beginning of 22, that the rates would have basically tripled in the last 18 months, I would have thought you were fucking crazy.
But you got to think about it. This is what I told my team when everyone freaked out when the market came up and everyone's like, oh, what are we going to do? Listen, if we would have kept rates at 3% for the next 10 years, there would be no jobs for lenders anyway. It'd be gone. What do we need you for anymore? The rates have to go up to create a refi market eventually as well. It's a cyclical cycle. What comes up must come down. And that's what creates market opportunity. And that's what's necessary. So yes, the rates will come back down. We're going to have a refi boom. I'm going to crush it then. But in the interim, there's still a lot of opportunity. There's still a lot of good deals to be had. And a lot of people are sitting on the sidelines, except for smart investors that are all buying everything right now because they know what's the writing on the wall. Once interest rates start to drop, what's going to happen? There's no inventory. The prices are going to go back up to the roof. So right now, getting a deal with a higher interest rate, you're going to be paying a big premium once those rates drop because it's going to be a frenzy to get property. And it's going to be back in 2021 where people are paying $100 to $300,000 over property because I got to get in now.
Mm-hmm. I agree. And I think from a supply and demand, basis, it's important to recognize the fundamentals in most markets around the country are very, very strong. We got a shortage of supply and we got an all-time high in terms of demand. You got the baby boomers living longer. They're not moving into retirement homes as early as they were. And then you got, from a demographic standpoint, you got the millennials who are buying their first homes for the first time. They're starting families for the first time. I saw an article on CoStar last week that said the generation that has the biggest increase in home buying right now is the millennial generation. And then you look at the Gen Zers behind the millennials, which is even bigger demographic. They're moving out of their parents' house for their first time and renting apartments. And so I just think from a supply standpoint, whether it's apartments to rent, single family homes to own, there's just literally a shortage across the board. And the rate environment is not doing it any favors because a lot of builders are pulling back a little bit right now. And so I think, to your point, I think you're exactly right. I agree with you in the sense that whenever rates normalize, we're going to start another bull run.
Yeah. Well, the biggest issue with builders right now, like the one thing in a recessional market that goes down to almost zero is land, right? So what do these contractors or these construction companies need? They need to purchase land, which is the hardest thing to purchase right now unless you have outright cash, because they know in a recessional market, what are you going to do when everything hits the fan? I'm going to pull back that dirt. Thanks a lot. So that's the issue with why construction has been slowed a lot. Like I probably have close to $150 million worth of land like deals sitting in my pipeline right now that I'm trying to place. Some of them I have some opportunities, but they're difficult. And that's why you're seeing builders not do as much, because the land acquisition has to be pretty much cash, and then have to get financing on top of it. So if it's my money in this market, construction's where it's at, but you gotta bring in the right investors.
Yeah. You mentioned you guys do some Airbnb stuff and you're looking at boutique hotels. Tell me a little bit about what you guys do on the investment side.
Personally, yeah. So we've done a lot of luxury Airbnbs throughout the country: Miami, Arizona, Texas, California. I'm getting more into multifamily right now. We've been looking at boutique hotels as well. The one thing, I've been reaching out to, I'm good friends with Glenn Stearns right now, and learning from people like him and David Frost, who's the president of Fidelity. The one thing I'm learning from these guys is get more into multifamily. It's been a space I lend it, but I don't personally have a ton of, what's the word for it? Confidence in it yet. So that's what I'm trying to get into. I've done very good in the luxury market. I know luxury. I know what the vibe, the energy. Me and my wife are really good at styling out properties, so we vibe them out. Like we have the Versace villa, the Louis Vuitton mansion.
Those are the names of your Airbnb listings?
That's so House
cool.
of Gucci. So we vibe them out, because if you're going to an Airbnb, and you're going to Arizona or Miami, you want to have fun, you're going to pick a normal place, you're going to pick something that's vibed out, we're going to get cool Instagram photos and show your friends and fans. So that was my mindset, is vibe everything out. Now, my next train of thought, now it's getting a multifamily, and you're going to get, pick something up, get the ARV out, pull the money out, and it's about the long-term holds. But it's a different perspective, but that's what I'm getting to right now.
Yeah, dude, I talk about this all the time, man, because like you, I've done the multifamily stuff. The majority of the stuff I own right now is multifamily. I'm just not buying it at the moment. And then we do the Airbnb stuff. We're managing in 10 markets around the country, done some luxury stuff. And then now we're doing the hotels. But I'm like, dude, the multifamily is great. I love that asset class. From a risk-adjusted return basis, I don't think there's a better asset class out there. There's never going to be a replacement for two things: a place for people to sleep and a place for people to store their belongings. That's never going to go anywhere. Yeah. And so you could argue that asset class is evergreen. It can't be Kodak. It can't be BlackBerry. It's going to be around forever. But on the flip side, it's like, dude, you can't use your creative mind when you're doing the multifamily stuff, especially if you're buying C class, B class, workforce housing type of stuff. It's hard to, use the creative side of the mind. But on the flip side, like you alluded to, hey, you guys are doing luxury rentals. Love those fucking names that you're throwing out there. Those are pretty cool. And so with the luxury stuff and the Airbnb stuff, we get to get creative. With the hotels, we get to get creative. The design element, there's just so many more levers to push and pull to really push that revenue.
Yeah, the one thing my wife talked about too is, we built this all up, so we want to take pride in what we own too. So we're buying luxury properties. Like, hey, I own this. I want to go stay there as well. So when you go into multifamily, these places, you want to stay at half your multifamily place. Would you live there?
No.
Right. But that's a different mindset, right? Yeah. Like for me, everything I wear, drive, want to live in, I want to be prideful of it. But now I got to get myself out of that mindset. Listen, it's not about that. It's about long-term holds and then the greater appreciation over time. California is the one state I don't like to invest in too much. Obviously, the rent controls and all the legalities and the tax implications with it. But I see, Arizona is really still a good market, probably the best market for Airbnbs, in my opinion. I think Phoenix is going to be the next. Now Scottsdale's been a little bit saturated. Phoenix is starting to take off. Dallas, Texas, those are really good spots. Miami's good, but they're shutting down most of the short-term stuff right now with all the changes. So a lot of people got hammered on those ones, and a lot of shifty people there as well.
Yeah. Out of all those Airbnbs that you mentioned, which one is your favorite?
Probably the new one, the Versace Villa, is going to be my favorite one so far because it's just got it's almost like a huge property with a casita, the pool. It's just got a really cool vibe, but it's very private. And we're renting them out to like the Suns basketball players often out there.
It's in Scottsdale?
Yeah. Oh, no. So this is Phoenix.
Phoenix. Okay.
And then I know Matt Ishbia, who bought the Suns as well. He's one of our top lender relationships. So I'm going to work out a deal with them to start supplying their players with properties out there. There's no rentals right now. Like even my realtor called me the other day. She's like, there's 5 rentals right now in Phoenix. 5.
Wow.
There's properties to buy, but everyone's either short-terming, but there's no one's doing long-term. So even like long-term, I'm getting hit up on 25 to 30 grand a month for my rentals. I mean, these properties I'm buying for around, 2.5 mil, but 25, 30 grand a month consistent. Not bad.
How many bedrooms and bathrooms is that property?
That one is 6'5".
6'5". You got all the amenities too, pool?
Yeah, no, it's stacked, everything.
Yeah.
Sauna, pool, pickleball courts, you name it.
I got a luxury property out in Scottsdale, 8-bed, 8-bath, and it's got the pickleball court, the guest house, basketball.
Pickleball court.
I did the basketball court, full court, but I did like Suns logos. But dude, the pickleball court's where it's at with the Airbnb game, man.
I finally played for the first time a couple of weeks ago. Everyone's like pickleball, and I finally played. I'm like, all right, it's like a giant ping pong game. It's great.
But you know what we did is when we put pickleball in the listing title on Airbnb, our revenue went up like 35% overnight.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's crazy. So I tell everyone now, I'm like, hey man, if you have a big enough yard, just drop the 30 grand and put in a nice little pickleball court, put that in your listing title. You probably make that back in 2 or 3 months. Yeah,
no, it's amazing how much it's a thing right now. You didn't hear about it at all 2 years ago. Now everyone pickleball.
Yeah. On the training side, who's like the biggest athlete name wise that you've ever trained?
I was good friends with like Luis Castillo. I trained him for a long time.
Okay. He was a defensive lineman for the Chargers, right?
Yeah, great guy. Still chat, and I helped him like when he got off the field. We helped him drop all the weight off as well. Athletes are it's a different mentality, right? Just to train athletes. But I learned the most from the professionals to train more than athletes, right? Athletes are, yes, it's great for their focus, but for me, when I train people, if I could train like a CEO of a huge company or a doctor or a lawyer, I learned so much more from those people, to be honest, than athletes.
Yeah.
Right, because intellectually, I'm talking to them all day long, and that's really helped me, like working with those people for over a decade, and then getting into real estate and using those opportunities and leveraging that, and then that trust and reliability that's helped build my business. Yeah,
no, absolutely, man. It's crazy how those linebackers and like defensive linemen, the football players, when they get out of pro football and retire, like how much weight they take off.
We got it. I mean, you can't sustain it as well. I mean, you got to eat constantly, and then you're not moving as much. Either they get really fat, like a Charles Barkley, or they slim down really quick. Yeah, the Taco Bell will get you.
Where do you train at today?
I have a private facility in my house at this point. So when COVID hit, I was like, so I have 8-car garage, but I turned in one side of my garage to do a private gym, and I have everything there at this point. So I wake up first in the morning, hit the gym, cardio, weights. I have a hot sauna. Then I take my kids to school, and I have my home office as well. So we have an office where all my HR and onboarding people at my residence as well. So everything's kind of at my property at this point. So. Okay.
And so your team are they all remote as well?
Pretty much everyone's remote. Like we have 700 people across the country in all different states at this point.
That's pretty cool. And you're in Rancho Santa Fe?
Yeah.
Nice. That's cool, man. I love Little Italy, but I could see myself like living out in Rancho one day, especially if I had, start a family one day.
Yeah, we lived in Bankers Hill, our first property out here. We got married, and then I didn't want to go to Rancho Santa Fe. My wife's like, oh, Rancho Santa Fe. I grew up in the country. The town I grew up in was 942 people. We had a Piggly Wiggly and a gas station. We had drive your tractor to school day. So that's where the hick town I came from originally. So for me, I always wanted to be close to things. So being in Little Italy was cool. I can walk outside, restaurants. Like I love that vibe. But we ended up finding a really cool property that's coastal Rancho Santa Fe. So we can actually see the ocean from our second story, but it's like 7 minutes from the freeway. So I ended up working out, and now I am enjoying the space. Like we have 3 acres out there. I don't see my neighbors. Kind of nice.
Yeah, absolutely. Have you, while you've been doing real estate here in San Diego, what are you guys seeing like on the agent side in terms of sales due to the interest rate environment?
Sales are definitely, there's twofold, right? There's not much inventory, so sales have obviously dramatically dried up, right? So obviously a lot of real estate agents are hurting, for business, and, there's less opportunities out there. And that's why, me personally, I switched into that commercial, started adding business loans, SBA loans, equipment loans. I can even do Lambo leases now. I get Lambo Ferrari guys call me all the time for the people they can't finance. They send them to me. We do yachts, we do private planes. So that's what I pivoted into. Like, yes, it's slowed down. We're still moving. I'm still focused on purchase, but now I have all these other outlets to help my team make money for their families. That's what it comes down to.
What does financing a private jet look like?
It's not cheap. It's not cheap, but you're buying a private jet, right? So it just depends how much money you're putting down on those things. But the people that buy private jets are the people that need the write-off, right? Like you're not talking to people like, hey, I'm scrounging my pennies to buy a private jet. You like the Grant Cardones, they have the money, they need the write-off, and most of them are taking the big depreciation over year one anyways. So they don't really care. Or it's running everything through their business as well. That's my dream one day, to have the private jet. And like all my friends are like yachts. I'm like, I care less about yachts. I enjoy my friends' yachts. It's great. I don't really like the water that much, but I want to get to places at a fast rate and not worry about going through security and delays.
Yeah. And you could argue it is probably more depreciation with the jet versus the yacht. I mean, I'm not a CPA, but the yacht, I mean, if you're out, doing leisure, I guess you could say you're working on the yacht.
You can, a lot of them guys do.
Bring your laptop.
There's always something breaking on a yacht. Every time I call my buddy, he's like, oh, I got this, I got that. But they love it. Like they always say the best 2 days is the day you buy the yacht and the day you sell the yacht, right? Because there's constant maintenance. For me, I'd rather rent a yacht 5 times out of the year because that's probably the only time I'm going to use it anyways. It's going to sit there. Like my cars, I haven't driven my McLaren in 2 months at this point. It's just sitting in my garage charged up. I just look at it every morning when I work out. I'm like, that's great. But it's just sitting there. So, I work too much to really take, maybe one day.
Yeah. Which one did you drive in today?
I drove the Bentley, the gold Bentley. Yeah.
What's the nicest car in this car club in the San Diego chapter that you see?
I think there's some Bugattis in there. One of the members had a Bugatti in there. What are they? I don't know all the names of them. So
we'll see a Bugatti on Saturday?
I don't think so.
No.
You'll see like maybe a Ford GTs. Those ones are pretty sick. I mean, when you're driving $1 million car, like when I went on drive $1 million car on the road with a whole bunch of other people, rocks are kicking up and stuff like that. Yeah. I remember one time, at Lafayette Clem, we went to a drive and one of the guys, the Crowleys brought out his GT. It's a $1 million car. And they didn't look at the roads, and it turned out like one of the roads got totally shut down. It was all gravel, right? So we're all laughing because we always get our cars clean, and we're driving like down this gravel road for like 7 miles. We're all looking at Clem like, bro, right? But yeah, I mean, at that level, certain things for me for cars, the GTs are sick. Do I want to spend $3 to $5 million on a Bugatti one day? Not my thing.
Is that the price tag for a Bugatti?
Usually around that.
3 to 5 million?
Yeah.
Holy shit! I had no idea. I was thinking like $500,000 or $600,000.
No. I mean, most Ferraris now are $500,000 to $600,000. $500,000 to $700,000 for a good Ferrari now. But yeah, the Bugatti's it's a big flex.
Yeah.
There's certain things you buy that says, hey, I just have a lot of money. Is it that much cooler than R8 or a McLaren? You can debate it, right?
What did you spend on your McLaren?
That was like $285, I think.
Okay.
Not cheaper, but the doors go up.
I like that.
Ferraris are still my favorite though. Yeah. All my cars. Like I had a 458 is probably one of my favorite cars. I'm getting the new 296 GTB, the new hybrid. I think I'm like 2 away from allocation. That car, then I'll probably switch out the McLaren for that one.
Yeah.
But they're fun. Like for me, when I joined Fastlane, it was a way to write off my cars. It's a marketing group. It's a networking group. And I really only use the car for the group. So it is a write-off. My friends are like, oh yeah.
I didn't even think about that as a perk.
But it's you're for sure. It's from your marketing work right now. Look at the connections you're making through it, right? That's what it is. It's a networking entrepreneur group, and that's what you're utilizing for.
Cool, my man. Well, hey, listen, I appreciate you coming on the show, dude. I'm looking forward to connecting more this weekend, and looking forward to meeting Aleyna, dude. So I appreciate you coming on.
No, thank you so much for having me.
Yep. Listeners, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you in the next one.
Peace.